welcome to space, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the daily space weather. I be your host, El smAsho del Masho Tank. And we're starting things out today looking at the sun in 193 angstroms. Some holy regions around the solar equator there. South Pole coronal hole looking quite huge. Another coronal hole rising into the Earth-facing zone. No sunspots and fairly low levels of activity. Here's the view in 171 angstroms. There is an active region up here. Not to be confused with the sunspot. I should draw it here. Anyway, you can see that bright spot, right? Cheers. Anyway, those are both 48-hour videos. And we have a coronal mass ejection headed Earth's way. So viewing the situation from stereo A, this is where it's located here. Stereo B ahead of the Earth, orbitally speaking. The Earth orbits this way. The same way the sun rotates, not coincidentally. And here's the view from stereo A, and we covered this yesterday, as this is a kind of an unfolding situation even still, as there's still some ejecta flying out toward Earth, which is in this direction from this view. So allow me to vanish. And this is the way that we are able to see coronal mass ejections that don't show up in the LASCO, the SOHO-LASCO imagery, which is located here in between the Earth and the Sun, as opposed to way over here. And hopefully that helps our new viewers visualize what I'm talking about. Now here's the view from the LASCO C3, and you can see ejecta on all sides of the coronagraph disk, indicating that most of that ejecta is headed directly toward Earth. 100% coronal mass ejection, and perhaps 100% Earth-facing coronal mass ejection, and perhaps this is why our videos keep getting demonetized, because we keep doing science. We even separated our videos yesterday. We'll get into it in a minute. First, we'll look at a whole bunch of other things, such as helioviewer.org. And we're going to fade out to the fields. And you can see that active region in the northeast, up here under my pointer. Not a sunspot, cycle 25 behavior. And let's look at some 304 angstroms movies. Looking at the North Pole region here. And we see some minor crown prominences happening up there around the North Pole. Another indication that the sun is ramping up. And welcome to space. Welcome to cycle 25. That's a good thing, as a lot of people were predicting the possibility of no cycle at all. Here's the southern polar region, and we'll be studying the solar polar regions and their fields much more in the coming weeks, months, and years. Here's where stuff is located in the solar system. There's where things will be in a week on the 11th. Just coming off of a full moon there. Full moon in 6 days, looks like. If you want to check this out yourself, check out theplanetstoday.com. Here's where stuff is above my head. Now I'm located in Lehigh Valley. If you want to make a star chart for yourself, head to in-the-sky.org. You can even animate it. Where were you when Deneb rose? And we're not going to talk about that today. This isn't a cosmology segment, so yeah. KP index currently at 1. No big deal there. 10.7 centimeter radial flux still at 70. Goes X-ray flux. Pretty flatlined here. Nothing to really comment on there. And we're going to look at cosmic rays real quick. First, Apatity and Barentsburg. Now, over these 30 days, we see a slight downtick in cosmic rays, another indication of solar uptick, perhaps, and that's a good sign. Barentsburg also showing a downward trend over the past 30. Next, we've loaded up Athens Neutron Monitor, and there you can see the data on that. tiny downtrend over the past 30 days, relatively flat. And next, Mexico City. There's the data from that. Small uptrend there at Mexico City. Very slight, less than 1%. Next, I guess we'll show Moscow again, even though it stopped working after this incredible spike. And lastly, Oulu, Finland, a city that has recently gotten famous because of, stop, don't touch me there, that is my no-no square. A lot of simps in certain places these days. Yeah. Trying to prevent rape by migrants by creating a ridiculous rhyme and spending, I think, 4 million euros. Great job, Oulu, Finland. The hell are you doing up there? Maybe you're spending too much time indoors in the winter. Anyway, there's the Oulu neutron monitor, looking pretty flat over the past 30 days. DOMB, Antarctica is not sending data, but DOMC is also looking flat over the past 30. By the way, we always leave links to the network of cosmic ray stations. Don't take our word for it, or anybody else's word for it. There are many YouTube channels lying to you about cosmic rays, so monitor them yourself. If you see anything weird, let us know. Next, we'll look at the real-time solar wind, and we see a phi angle having recently shifted to about 244 degrees. Solar wind density, 5.24 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed, 379 kilometers a second, as it has ramped down over the past 24. There's the data from ACE. Watch the update. And there's the last 5 minutes as we did show prep. Here's the Geospace Magnetosphere movie. We show 4 hours of this daily. Thanks, new viewers, for tuning in. Thanks, new subscribers, etc. Please don't forget to press like and subscribe. And here's the 4 hours of data courtesy of University of Michigan. And you're going to see quite a steady magnetosphere here. And while it's not exciting, we still document it daily in case it can be used as archival data for somebody looking this up. If you want to know what was happening around this time a month ago, watch our video from a month ago. The data's there. Next, we'll look at ground magnetic perturbations. I would note the fact that we have a North Pole up here over Siberia and a North Pole over here over Canada, causing the net pole to be like here. And the South Pole's going like this, creeping up toward southwestern Australia. And we see indications of polar creep over on this side of the South Geomagnetic Pole also. I've been watching it for quite a long time, over a year now, and looking at the possibility that the South Pole has split in two also, but I'm not going to make too much of a conjecture about that. Anyway, there's the geospace ground magnetic perturbations. We certainly have two geomagnetic north poles, and the South Pole is showing signs of the same. This is what you'd expect. You'd expect the North Pole and the South Pole both to split into 4, possibly then into 8, who knows. And welcome to the geomagnetic excursion. Please don't believe all the nonsense on the internet, as there's so much of it. Have a discerning eye, viewers. Next, the GOES magnetometer is continuing to look spiky. No surprise there. We've been forecasting it the whole time based on this data here. It's the Gong 2 top view ecliptic plane field plot. And this data is about 2 hours old. Keep in mind the magnetic environment can change suddenly. Sunspots can appear or vanish with zero warning. And we're going to continue to see spikiness in the GOES magnetometer data, as the entire current sheet, at least the part that the Earth is on, is South Pole polarity, noted here in red. Next, we're going to look at the top view the line of sight field plot, which shows you the B field in blue, the north solar polar field in green, and the south solar polar field in red. And this is going to be changing drastically as the sun ramps up in activity. We'll tell you all about it as it happens. Next, we're looking at the relativistic electrons, which are at moderate levels. Here is the GOES electron flux, looking pretty normal there. Nothing too exciting going on. Not expecting any warnings or anything like that. We're going to skip the total electron content forecast, but if you want to look at that yourself, it's the CTIPE total electron content forecast. Next, we'll look at the ionosphere, which is showing some discharge anomalies here. You can see the F2 layer turning into an F layer, this giant red blob here. and that's a highly discharged ionosphere. Although it is located on the right spot on the planet, the northern hemisphere at nighttime, what you'd expect, nothing too crazy going on in the ionosphere, despite that sudden charge down. And there's the current image, making it up to 13 megahertz, it looks like. And we are seeing a big charge disparity in this area. It has to do with the South Atlantic anomaly, I would imagine. And without further conjecture, let's move on and not get into the weeds. Now, yesterday's video got demonetized. The one about space weather, the one about how Google is actively interfering in the 2020 election, did not get demonetized. What do you think about that, folks? Leave a comment. Let us know how ridiculous you think that is. Also, thanks to our patrons. Please consider supporting us on Patreon, the real source of funding for these videos, as YouTube strives to pay us nothing for this content. Our patrons ensure that the videos will keep coming and that our organization will continue to grow. So please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/smAsho. Or if you don't like Patreon because of free speech issues, perhaps check out Subscribestar. We have set up an account there also, just in case you don't like Patreon for whatever reason. Also, don't forget to follow us on Alt Tech. Check out our new subs. Thank you, new subscribers. Up to 112 subs on BitChute and getting lots and lots more views than on YouTube. So check it out. Google is actively interfering in the 2020 presidential election, just like it did in 2016. Tell your friends, tell your foes. I don't want leftists silenced. I don't care if they want me silenced or not. I would fight for their right to talk about how they want me silenced, no matter how stupid they are. We're also on Minds, minds.com/smAsho, the alternative to Facebook, where you won't be censored, you won't be shadow banned. You'll get all the views that you earn, and we're approaching 600,000 views thanks to the new subs there on Minds. Cheers, folks. Spread the truth. Don't believe the lies. There's plenty of it on the internet, and apparently telling the truth and covering actual science is some sort of algorithmic crime when it comes to Google's junkware. Let's go to some weather stuff, which is indeed space weather. All your weather comes from space. I don't know if you're aware. Anyway, here's the windy.com pressure map. We're going to advance that about 24 hours. And this is the GFS forecast. There's where things will be at 1 p.m. my time tomorrow. Next, we'll check out the last 24 hours of earthquakes. And I'm learning about this at the same time you are, perhaps. I haven't looked this one over yet, folks. So it looks like, once again, an earthquake lull. No earthquakes over a 6 magnitude. We're seeing an earthquake drought. So if you are in a prone area, please have a plan. Have a bug-out bag. Know which buildings might crumble. It looks like 2 5 magnitude quakes are all we saw. It's a significant downturn. No deep quakes yet on the list. Looks like nothing over a 5 magnitude, I think. Earthquake drought. Again, if you're in an earthquake-prone zone, know which buildings will crumble. Even if you can't afford to create a bug-out bag, know what's going to happen if buildings start to fall down and you're going to evacuate. If there's a huge building facade that's going to crumble by your front door, knowing about that is indeed prepping. Now, have you checked out smAshomash.org? Well, if not, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance as we assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics. So check it out, and we've got links to some of our sites up here, and also scroll down and click on the smAshomash forum. It's smAshomash.com/forum. Just click on that, and you'll be directed to that site. And we've updated the coronavirus section, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. It's now up to 8 pages. and we've been covering this since January 23rd. We're not just promoting fear-mongering here, we're actually putting up solutions as well. Were you aware that elderberries can block viruses from attaching to and entering human cells? What about lemon and cayenne pepper? What about L-lysine, the essential amino acid that you cannot produce with your own body and you have to take it in via food? Anyway, the latest updates include the idea that perhaps the incubation period between when you're infected and when symptoms show up, the median is 5 to 14 days with a maximum of 5 to 7 days with a maximum of 14. That is good news, and perhaps this is why the numbers in China are going down. So if you want to see a massive repository of information about this, check out smashomash.com/forum. Thanks everybody who has set up a login there, and we encourage you to put up posts about anything you want. And the coronavirus section is in the free-for-all forum. We've also got sections about geophysics, the sun, cosmology, etc. We've got recommendations from Business Insider about what to include for your quarantine prepping if you're interested in doing that. We've also got information about the Fed cutting rates. The Fed cut rates yesterday. The Federal Reserve cut rates yesterday in a rare emergency meeting in order to continue to inflate the stock market bubble. Now keep in mind, folks, the reason the stock market is so overvalued right now is because of cheap money incentivizing corporations to purchase their own stock and to indeed pay executives in stock options instead of raising their salaries. This has tax implications for both the employees as well as the companies, and this cheap money highly incentivizes companies to, instead of investing in its own infrastructure, for instance, to just simply purchase its own stock, which has caused a massive bubble. Trump indicated that he knew about the bubble when he was running, but now he acts like the stock market is super great. And as a guy who used to day trade right at the height of the tech bubble in 1999 as a tech specialist, I can tell you that many of these junkware stocks, like Google, Apple, Facebook, and Twitter, are utterly overvalued. At least Apple has hundreds of billions of dollars of cash on hand to buy its own stock. Let's check and see what's going on with crypto right now, as it's taken a hit recently. First, we're going to look at Bitcoin on the Coinbase exchange. There's the one-year chart of Bitcoin. Next, we'll look at Ethereum, and there's the one-year chart of Ethereum. That's looking like a better buy to me than Bitcoin. And I'm just going to scroll down here on CNBC's market page. Now, Monday was the largest one-day point gain in the history of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, I believe. And that was all on news that central banks were going to cut their rates. So expect inflation to go up. Expect precious metals to go up in price as a result of this. I was not expecting the Fed to do an emergency meeting. It's very rare that that happens. And for some reason, the dollar is suffering. It's probably because of the Fed cutting rates. And yeah, for those of you who think that the government regulates the Fed, it's a lot more accurate to say the Fed regulates the government, as if the Fed artificially raises interest rates, that prevents the government from spending more. And let's just leave it at that. Anyway, dollar on the defensive there, which is what happens when the Fed cuts rates, as the dollar becomes cheaper and bonds get injected. Money gets injected into bonds, causing the yields to drop. Here's the current situation for the coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19. And we see the cases in China leveling off, and it probably has to do with that incubation period. That's good news. Worldwide cases leveling off also. And note the steepness of this green graph. That's those who've recovered. Total cases confirmed worldwide is 93,160. Total deaths, 3,198. Please leave a comment if you know how many deaths the flu has caused in the same period of time. I think the entire coronavirus story is a media scam designed to crash the U.S. stock market for political purposes. What did he say? Oh my gosh. Are you a pearl-clutching pussy? Are you afraid of volcanoes? I'm kind of afraid of volcanoes. I wouldn't pitch a tent on the lower slopes of Kluchevskoy. It's kind of cold up there. but it's producing a 22,000-foot ash plume regardless. Semaru producing a 13,000-foot ash plume. Carinthia exploding, 14,000-foot ash plume there. Pavlov on the Alaskan Peninsula has been downgraded to a green status. Popocatépetl exploding, 19,000-foot plume there. Nevado del Ruiz exploding, 20,000-foot plume there. Same situation at Sangay. Revenador exploding, 16,000-foot flight level there. Sabancaya flight level 25,000 as it explodes. Please do not attempt to pole vault the caldera at Sabancaya. Here's a USA Today story talking about the deadly tornadoes. At least 25 people dead as a result of these horrific tornadoes. And we'll show you some photos here after I close this player. This is a USA Today article. And a suburb of Nashville, I believe it was, got hammered. Here are the depressing photographs of lots of houses without roofs and so on. Rescue efforts. Some pretty serious damage down there. Please keep the residents of Tennessee in your prayers, folks. Some people looking pretty upbeat. And I would imagine insurance stocks took a hit as a result of this, as one disaster can damage insurance stocks. I used to work for a property casualty insurer known as Hartford Fire Insurance Company. We've still got lightning striking down there in places like Alabama, Mississippi, and lightningmaps.org showing us real-time lightning here. Heads up to Jackson. There is thunder rolling in. Next time you hear some, perhaps check out lightningmaps.org. And we see some more extreme storms hitting into Texas. Let's zoom that area real quick. And this video is not powered by the IBM cloud. And let's animate that. Those don't look too extreme. And let's look at the water vapor maps around the world. Right after we look at the jet stream, there's the eastern jets. Here are the western jet streams. We will be making a second video today, folks. We'll put it up on YouTube just to demonstrate how YouTube demonetizes our content for absolutely no reason and then remonetizes it after our views are done coming in, as it uses analytics to shadow ban the living shit out of us. Here is the Africa and Europe water vapor animation. Looking at 3 hours, the last 3 hours there. There are the time and date stamps. And next we'll look at the Far East, Oceania, etc. There's the situation there. This is the last 4 hours for some reason. And here's the US water vapor map. We see some apparent interference there on the GOES satellite taking the data. And let's look at the area directly. Let's look at Central Texas, as that's where we see the storms and a massive convergence happening there. And it looks like it's stagnating, folks, as the dry air is largely in control of the atmosphere, since it is more massive than moist air. I know, it seems counterintuitive. You would think that low pressure associated with rain is going to be more massive, but that's not the way it works. And it all has to do with the molecular mass of nitrogen versus the molecular mass of water vapor. Next, we're going to thank the SMASH team for tuning in. Hey, SMASH team, thanks for tuning in. Please don't forget to press like and subscribe wherever you're viewing. Leave us a comment. Go to smashamash.com/forum, set up a login if you haven't done so, and talk about whatever you want. Here's some bonus features. We've got 3 of them. It's the local yellow dwarf's intensitygram showing 0 sunspots. How about the magnetogram? There's the active region. It's quite diffuse. No real organization going on there. And last but not least, we've got one of the crowd favorites. It is the local yellow dwarf at 131 angstroms. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We are out. Thanks for staring at the sun. When you do so, don't drink, and if you do drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your